Welcome back to the Pretentious Film Majors. My name is Dylan. That's Jason. We just got out of a screening for Bugonia, the new Yorgos Lanthimos film starring Jesse Plemons and Emma Stone. In this film, Jesse Plemons and his cousin play a couple of conspiracy theorists who kidnap Emma Stone, who is a businesswoman of note, and try to get her to confess that she is, in fact, an alien. And they want her to take them back to their mothership so they can negotiate for humanity's safety, so the Andromedons don't cause more problems on Earth, and for the honeybees. Jason,
Yes, Dylan.
we just got out of the screening for Bugonia. What are your initial non-spoiler thoughts for the film?
I like this movie. I enjoyed it. I think you should see it if you like weird movies. I think this is a cool mismatch of genres. It's kind of mostly just a kidnapping, abduction style film. There's some thriller and horror elements. And then, of course, there's that sci-fi kind of teetering on the edge where they at least allude to sci-fi ideas. This guy has rendered what the mothership will look like, and it's a pretty cool ship design. We've talked about alien ship designs on this podcast before, I think, and this one's up there.
Yes, it's a very interesting concept because you're asking yourself the entire movie, is this woman actually an alien? Is she not an alien? And basically, we won't spoil anything for the back half of the movie here, but in this guy's mind, he's all in.
Yeah.
He is convinced that this woman is an alien, and this woman is convinced she has no idea what the hell this guy's talking about.
Yeah.
And it makes for a pretty solid comedy, I would say, the back and forth between them. And she gets into therapy speak of kind of being agreeable with them at a certain point.
Yeah.
It's a prisoner's dilemma. She starts kind of trying to say whatever she needs to say in order to get out of there.
Yeah. And then there's also a lot of tension in those moments, too, in addition to the humor. At one point, she corrects his grammar, and that really sets him off. Yeah, the whole time, he's like teetering on the edge of violence. And without getting into spoilers, sometimes he goes off the edge. And it's just kind of a great interplay between those two leads, Jesse Plemons and Emma Stone. Emma Stone, I thought, was fantastic. This is the third time she's worked with Yorgos?
Yeah, it's a pretty common
time.
collaboration between those two actors at this point.
Yeah, I think they're really in sync at this point. They absolutely know how to work together, and he gets a great performance from her, and she knows what to do to elevate the movie. So that duo, I think, is as strong as ever. I would say overall, I like this, but I didn't like it as much as Poor Things, which I just think is a real tour de force for the two of them. And Dylan, you haven't seen that, right?
No, the only Yorgos Lanthimos movie I'd seen before this was The Lobster.
And did you like The Lobster?
I thought it was okay. I know that Yorgos is a director where the ideas for his movies are kind of out there.
Yeah, they're wonky.
And this movie is described as a black comedy, and
Sure.
it's definitely it gets some chuckles out of you, and then there's some scenes where you're like, oh, that's kind of messed up. What's happening on screen right now?
There's a lot of scenes that are kind of messed up. There was a couple of gasps from the audience, I would say, which is always a good sign for a movie. And there were chuckles. I don't think anyone was like outrageously laughing at any of the jokes because it wasn't really structured as a comedy. It was
Yeah,
just
it's a strange movie structurally because it's what, an hour and 47 minutes, something like that.
something like that.
Which is, it feels kind of long now that I've seen the movie. And Emma Stone makes a joke, and I'm sorry, Jesse Plemons makes a joke at one point where she says that we're going to start a dialogue between the two of us, and he goes, what is this, Death of the Salesman?
Yeah.
And it's funny because this movie is essentially just those two actors riffing back and forth.
Right. There's a stage play version of this that's just as good, if not better.
I mean, you could convince me that this is a film adaptation of a stage play, the way that it goes about.
This is a film adaptation of a South Korean movie that came out in 2003.
Oh, okay. Because it's very limited in its locations, and it's very limited in its characters. And I think to a certain extent, that kind of started to wear on me a little bit. I kind of felt myself being like, okay, what's like the actual movie here? What is the progression going to look like? And we're not going to get into spoilers into what actually happens near the back half of the movie. There is a progression that happens eventually.
Yeah.
I just think it takes too long to get to the point.
I think I agree with you, which is why I don't think this is as strong as The Lobster or Poor Things, which both of those have very clear progression and the characters change a lot. This really felt like it was just the two main characters talking, which I always thought was great, and then these interludes where Jesse Plemons would go to work for the day. And there was almost nothing interesting happening whenever those two characters weren't on screen together. So it does feel like it has trouble justifying its length. And again, it's not a long movie. There's just not a lot that happens in the movie. It takes place over the course of, I think, 4 days or so.
Yeah, and anybody that's seen the trailers for this knows the premise of these guys think she's an alien and they're trying to get her to confess that.
Mm-hmm.
And she is just this normal businesswoman. And she's like, these guys are insane. I need to do whatever I need to get out of here, even if it is like halfway agreeing with them.
Yeah.
And they do that exact same thing for like 4 scenes.
Yeah, it's just those scenes interspersed with Jesse Plemons riding his bike around.
And shout out to bikes. This is a really good movie for bikes.
Yeah, there was a
Biking around
moment
town.
where I felt like the movie was kind of doing an inverse ET, because after they initially kidnap her, Jesse Plemons goes to work, he's riding his bike, and then the score comes in orchestral style,
It
really
feels very
strong,
yeah.
and you're like, oh, it's just like ET.
Feels like
except
Spielberg.
Instead of adopting a lost alien, he's kidnapped a woman he thinks is an alien, and so it's like this reversal of that premise, and I thought that was cool, and I think the score lent itself to that. So there's a lot of cool little things going on in this movie.
There's also some like greater societal dialogue that I feel like the film is trying to talk about. The intro sequence of the film talks about honeybees and how the bees are dying, and how colony collapse disease is somehow intertwined with humanity, and how humanity is also degrading over time. And Emma Stone plays the CEO of this like pharmaceutical company who is making a drug to help people that are going through opiate withdrawals. And Jesse Plemons' mom is one of those people that was part of like a test group,
Mm-hmm.
and apparently it didn't go great, and she's basically on life support because of that trial. And that's part of what sends him down the rabbit hole of getting into this whole alien thing. And I feel like there's some sort of thematic element going on there between like the bees and opiates and all of that, and them tying it to aliens and conspiracy theories. I just don't know if it all ties together super effectively by the end of it. I do think the movie ultimately is enjoyable, but I don't think it all comes together. It feels like a movie where it's a really good idea for a setup and like a sequence, and then they're trying to stretch that sequence out to the runtime of a feature film, and I think that that's where it kind of falters a little bit.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think that watching this movie as kind of a character study of the two leads is where you're going to get the most bang for your buck. I think that those bigger themes that you're talking about, I think you're right that the movie doesn't quite hit them and tie them all together perfectly. I don't think Yorgos Lanthimos really cared. I'm curious to watch the Korean version and see if they really have a better thesis about the state of the world than this movie does. As I was walking out, because we got an early screening for this from, promotional company, and yeah, shout out.
Shout out to the early screenings.
And that's why we're pretentious film majors
Yeah,
now. We had to revive an old banner I was under so that we could get these screenings.
Whatever you got to do, man. Get those early screenings.
But I heard one guy's review. We each had to leave and give a 1-sentence review of the movie. And one guy said, I don't understand why they remade a movie that's 23 years old, but made it a little bit worse. And,
Tough look.
and so,
That's like the worst case scenario is if you run into the one guy that's seen the Korean version.
and he's a big stan of the Korean version. Yeah, Dylan and I going into that theater did not know this was based on an earlier movie. I only found out as I was pulling up the Wikipedia page on the walk home. So yeah, I'm definitely curious to see what the original version is like, but I really loved just the interplay between the two leads, and that's what I'm probably going to remember from this movie.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a movie that is a vessel to get Oscar nominations for 2 of the actors, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
The movie lets those 2 cook
Yeah.
for most of the runtime. And I think they deliver. They're 2 very strong actors. Obviously, Emma Stone has the pedigree of a previous Oscar winner, so clearly she's, trying to get back on that horse.
Yeah, I mean, I already said it before, but her collaborations with Yorgos are just really strong, and I think he's been able to bring out her best work. and she was in Poor Things, which is probably his best work. So yeah, the performances are really strong. Let's talk about the other guy. Let's look up his name. We'll just edit this as
Yeah, we haven't talked about it yet, but
there's a third main
there's a
character.
third person that is in most of the movie with them. His name's Don, right? Is it Don or Dom?
It's Don.
It's a little tricky to talk about him. I believe that character is supposed to be on the spectrum,
Yeah.
and it made me like kind of uncomfortable a lot of the scenes that he's in because he's clearly being manipulated by Jesse Plemons' character to kind of be in on this whole conspiracy theory stuff. And he's a man on the spectrum, so it's probably that he doesn't fully grasp like what's going on exactly. He just has this family member that he is close to, that if he feels a relationship to, and so he's just going along with whatever Jesse Plemons tells him to do. And it's like really uncomfortable, honestly, to watch him anytime he's like on screen and for like an extended period of time, talking. Because a lot of the talking in the film is just Jesse Plemons and Emma Stone, but like that guy's in the room with them.
Yeah, Jesse Plemons has not allowed him to speak. That character, Don, I agree. I think he's on the spectrum. So then you have these two characters, these two guys, they're cousins, they live together. And one is on the spectrum and far enough along the spectrum where he probably would have trouble living alone. And then his only family that he has left is a guy who we assume is slipping into psychosis.
Yeah, he's kind of going off the deep end a little bit.
And so it's really tragic watching these two characters who love each other. They state it multiple times in the film, and neither one of them seems to be able to function in the world as we know it, and it's tough. Now, I think the idea that the character is on the spectrum is what is supposed to come across. Do you think that actor is on the spectrum, or do you think he was portraying?
I really hope he is.
I think he did a really good job with that role. Either way, this was his first role. I just looked it up. His name is Aidan Delbis, and yeah, this is the only thing on his IMDb page, it looks like, right now. He's got a new movie coming out that he's starring in called My Movie Starring Paul Dano. So we'll see.
I wonder who's the star of that film.
But yeah, so overall, I enjoyed it because I like these actors, and it was cool seeing. I don't think I've seen them work together before. So Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons, those are both people who can bring it.
There's also a little bit of Greek nepotism here from Yorgos Lanthimos.
Oh yeah.
Fucking Stavros shows up.
Yes,
from Cumtown.
Yeah, Stavros is
and he's
there.
Just a big, fat, creepy cop.
He probably gets the most lines outside of the main three. Yeah.
His fourth billing in the movie.
Yeah, and he's so tertiary to everything that's going on, and yet it's implied that he has a big effect on Jesse Plemons' characters.
On his formative years.
Yeah, and then he shows up he plays a cop, so, there's a missing person.
Obviously, there's a point of tension there if you have a cop involved in this kidnapping that's happening.
Yeah, I don't think it's a spoiler to say that people are investigating, and then there's one cop with dialogue, so he's there, and he's kind of funny, but also kind of not. It's just really interesting.
Did you find yourself laughing a lot in this movie? I know it's billed as a black comedy. How well do you think it did at the comedy elements?
I laughed at a few things, like the one joke that you mentioned where he says this isn't Death of a Salesman. That got a laugh out of
there's definitely some like meta dialogue in it where they're talking about therapy speak, and they're talking about how somebody would try to talk their way out of this situation.
Yeah. There's a couple of laugh lines, but those are far and few between. I think it tries to draw comedy from the tension of the situations, and I think it mostly succeeds, but no, I don't think it was like a laugh out loud comedy.
So any final thoughts here for Bugonia, Jason?
Yeah, I think you should see it. I don't know if it'll get the Oscar buzz, although, I didn't really think
it's going to be curious. Obviously, they're releasing it at the end of October, so we're getting an Oscar season now, so this is the types of films that are going for it.
Yeah. So it's an interesting movie too. Like the idea is interesting, like you said, even if all the themes don't necessarily tie together. So I would definitely say it's worth seeing.
Do you have your Letterboxd score out of 5 in mind yet for this movie?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 3.5, which is lower than this is coming in lower than I thought.
It's coming in lower than I would have guessed as well.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go 3 out of 5,
Yeah.
which is on track with how you and I rate movies. You're always
about a half.
You're always a half a star to a star above whatever I rate stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
I guess that makes me the more pretentious one of the two of us.
Yeah, and yet This is your first time being in a Pretentious Film Majors project, so welcome aboard.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to be it for our review of Bugonia. Jason, thanks for coming on, talking about this film with us here at the Pretentious Film Majors. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know, are you interested in seeing this film in theaters? We're probably going to do a full spoilers review of this as well. So it's possible that you'll see that on our channel as well by the time you check this out. And if not, see it in theaters. It releases, I think, wide on Halloween in the United States.
I think
So
so.
if it's available in your theater, I definitely recommend going and checking it out, especially if you've liked previous Yorgos Lanthimos films. I think it's going to be up your alley. Anyway, that's going to be it for us here, guys. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.